Hello everybody, welcome back to the shop for 10 whole minutes of trimming action. Let's get right to it. I got all these parts laid up. Yeah guys, our blizzard kind of fizzled out the other night. Them guys, they shut this whole town down. You know, the day they was expecting that blizzard. Closed the schools, all the businesses, and even the hobby shop was closed. And it didn't even snow that day. The streets were clear. It was crazy. Then we got a little bit of snow that night, and oh, they was warning us for days. Major blizzard coming, 18 inches. No, I think 15 or 16 was the high predicament. No blizzard, we never dang blizzard. The first snow was way worse. We was expecting all this snow, you know, and I kind of got all ready for it. There was a bunch of snow on top of the trailer, on top of my trailer. I didn't want another 15 inches on top and maybe collapse the roof or something, so didn't know what that roof would take, so I had to get the ladder out and shovel off the top of my trailer even. And then they shut this whole town down. I couldn't believe it. Everything was closed. Telling people not to go to work. It didn't even snow that day. That night we got a little. And them weathermen were sitting back laughing. Hey, let's tell the whole world it's going to be covered under feet of snow. Gotta really make sure there's nothing in these trenches here where my bar goes, because that'll throw it off center, you know. So we gotta make sure no clump of resin got in there. We don't want to scrap no more parts. No more. These parts are all the way cured out, so it makes them tougher to trim in a way, but it's better in a way. You know, they don't want to lift up so much. I still try and hold them down somewhere, because we don't want them popping out. Not that it'd be the end of the world, it'd just be better if they ain't. Wanting to lift up just a little bit right there, so we're going to stop and come back this way. Gonna take it off in layers and save it all. My son got back yesterday, and I tell you guys, my son went to Europe. Yeah, that's what him and his buds do. They pay off their credit cards all year and then go on a big trip somewhere. And then they'll pay it off again through the year. They've gone a lot of places here in the U.S. This is the first time they ever went out of the country. They went to Amsterdam, they went to Paris. I guess him and all his buddies got a bronchitis over there. Said it was the last couple of days of the trip. He was pretty sick. That would blow, and then they got back. Right. Well, I guess it was worse up north. The blizzard. I don't know. There was stuck in O'Hare, Chicago's airport there for a while. I don't think they made it home now. Well, I would like to go over there to Europe. Maybe someday. It's true, I kind of got in touch with something again the other day. Science has been messing with me. Oh, guess what I did yesterday? Fired up the P-51. Oh yeah, it took some flipping. I was going to make some videos and I said, oh, it's probably going to take a bunch of flipping. And that first run, you know, I left the needles at the factory setting and flipped on that thing for a half an hour. And then I went to Trugged Up Models website, and they tell you, you gotta open the low end to 2.5 turns. The factory settings is 1.5. So after I did that, it fired right up. Thing's a beast, man. Can't wait to fly it. And it's all ready. I hooked the brakes up yesterday too. It's all ready to go. CG'd ready. All we gotta do, it's gonna be. I looked at the 10-day extended forecast and it ain't gonna reach my 50-degree limit for a couple weeks, don't look like. And that means our flying field ain't gonna get melted. Probably messed. Afton don't get muddy because the grass is real old, you know, and not a lot of people go there. It's kind of turned into our own little private field since they opened the dump in town. But that place gets crowded, man. A bunch of guys with trainers, which is, you know, I ain't got nothing wrong with it, but, you know, when we're flying our expensive stuff, I don't really, you know, I don't mind going to the dump now and then, but, you know, when we're flying our expensive stuff, I don't really like doing it around a bunch of trainers. You know, because they're all over the sky. You know, that's one of the hardest things I've had to teach people is to stay in the pattern. You know, they just want to, you know, chase the airplane around, you know, just keeping it in the air and all over the place, you know, and you know, it's not that I mind them being there, it's just kind of nice to go to our field out here. There's not a lot of people. I do like to go out there and just visit with everyone now and then. But, you know, me and Wes, we've crashed a lot of airplanes out there. And there's a business across the river, Cornejo and Sons. And they got a lot of radio equipment or something, and Wes thinks they interfere with us because during the week is when most of the crashes happen, and they're all at the north end of the field, and you just lose the radio. And Wes, since Wes crashed his S-Box, you know, that was a 50cc plane. And he's got good radio equipment, you know, JR stuff. And that happened. The S-Box just lost everything, just like all them planes that crashed out there. But it's just during the weekends, it ain't so bad. It's just during the week when they got, that's why he thinks it's Corneo and Sons, because they've got some kind of, I don't know. It's just a lot of planes crash in the same spot up at the north end. You know, and I've crashed a couple there in that north end. Foamies, but I just like Afton. It's my home field. Been flying there for years. Another thing, the dump don't have a very good place to ditch. I mean, it's got a big old field out there, but it's rough terrain. I mean, it's rough. You just have to pull your gear up and hope for the best. Afton, nice, smooth, green grass, that whole big old field. You know, something, you know, even if one gear comes down, well, you pull the other one up, belly in on the grass, not a scratch. You know, you gotta put it in some rough old field. That's the main thing I like about Afton. Not a lot of people go out there anymore. Because, you know, the dump in town is so close. A lot of them chopper guys go to the dump too. And they want to sit there and do this right over the runway. Do 3D and stuff. You know, it's cool to watch sometimes, but that's why I'm not making 180-mile-an-hour low passes over the runways. Man, one more show. I got my vertical stab laid up too. I got to trim in. I want to get these glued together. Let's put these in a blanket. Blanket so I can pull them out. In a couple of hours, 3 hours in the blanket, then we set. I went to go pick up my resin jug a while ago, and I got a little resin left, but I'm out of hardener, and I'm always real careful to mix that stuff right on the money. And I usually have hardener left over. This time I got some resin and out of hardener. So I got to make a run to Associated before I can even glue these together. You know, a lot of these ARFs that don't use this foam, you know, I've noticed they put a bead of glue in there, and I wonder how, like yellow aircraft, how they get such a perfect bead on the inside of these things. You know, if it wasn't for this foam, I wouldn't just glue these things together. So you'd pile so much resin in there, they would be so heavy, you know. I'll tell you what, gluing just this foam together gives you one good bond, man. You know, that last stab that, you know, I had to Destructo, you know, that came apart easy, you know. But one like this, you almost need a chainsaw. Cut down a little bit. See, what happens is when when your knife starts to slip down and cut into it, it lifts up your mold or lifts up your part off the mold, and it'll still go down, 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 down. If you're not careful, you can be way short. Now it fill up with resin, and you just put it together. It wouldn't ruin your part, just makes it heavier. Even if I just cut a chunk out of that, I can put some resin in there and put my pieces together, let it set up, pull it apart. There'd just be a white spot where the primer was gone, but it would still be a good part. Just looks better for them not to be that. This is the hardest place to trim this backboard. You just gotta take your time. It's a lot easier doing this when it's fully cured out back here though. Because when it's not, when it's still kind of green and it's kind of a little on the rubbery side, it's a lot harder to trim back here. That's when it really wants to lift up. Like even my Composite ARF Mustang, them stabs don't have no foam in it. They're just glued together, and there's a bead of glue on the inside. I know because one of them was split, and I had to get in there. I had to lift it up and put some resin in there. I just made me a pastry bag and put some in there. But how do they do that? Now, they must just put a bead on both sides and put them together. You know, but I would never trust that. I just don't think. Nose is running like a red track star. I just don't trust that. It's kind of got me worried a little bit on the Mustang. I went around to all the others because it was like that from out of the box, you know. It was just that there was glue in there. They just kind of wasn't stuck on the tip out here on the stab. So I pulled it, made me a pastry bag, and spread it open and got a pretty good bead in there. And it's fixed now, but the thing is just so lightweight. I've been pulling on my stabs and elevator just to see if I can get them loose. You know, that big old 90's going to be vibrating. You really want to make sure nothing comes unglued. Make sure your hinges are good in there. And the only good way to do that is just grab your elevator span and just pull on and your ailerons and your flaps. Just grab them by the corner. I mean, where you can really get some good leverage and pull. I pulled on them pretty hard and they didn't budge. And every time you land for the, you know, first dozen flights, you really need to keep an eye on that. Then after that, if they ain't came loose after 10, 12 flights, they ain't going to, you know. But still keep an eye on them every now and then, just wait.